130 registered pilots. 47 are international pilots coming from Germany, UK, Czech Republic, New Zealand and America.
The strong international presence is proof that Duskklip Pass has become famous as a world-class flying and competition venue. The 500-meter launch point overlooks the Swartland Valley, bordered by Piketberg on the west and the Elephants River mountain chain on the east. Flying conditions are spectacular, and it's easy to see why pilots are attracted here from all over the world. Guiding the field of 130 competitors is Greg Hamilton, who has vast experience in the strong and often turbulent flying conditions found around the Swartland Valley.
Afternoon. Suspect very hot conditions with turbulence.
I went into big turbulence and the glider dived forward and I came onto brakes too hard. The glider spun and I got very low to the mountain and I had to throw my reserve.
And who says you need to have the best equipment to be a good pilot? After 4 days of competition, the current points leader is Johan Kritzinger, who's also ranked number 1 on the South African rankings. Consistent flying has kept him in the lead, but only by the slightest of margins. Following close on his heels is Andrew Smith. His third place finish at last year's Paragliding World Cup in the serial class makes him one of the most experienced pilots in the competition. Springbok pilot Neville Hewlett from the Eastern Cape is third, and the defending champion Jacques Coetzee is in fifth, having won the national championship on 3 previous occasions. On day 5 of the Harmony Gold Open Paragliding Championships, pilots have to fly a course with multiple turn points to Citrusdal, covering a total distance of 55 kilometers. The skies can get pretty crowded with 130 competitors as each one tries to gain as much altitude as possible. Neville Hewlett finds the first leg easygoing as he speeds low and fast towards Pietermaritzkloof Pass, almost 30 kilometers down the range. The second leg proves to be one of the most challenging, as it forces pilots to hug the mountainside as they battle their way into the headwind. For the leaders, the rest of the task is easygoing, and soon the first pilots are spotted approaching goal. The first pilot to cross the goal line is Andrew Smith, with a respectable time of 2 hours and 20 minutes, averaging 24 kilometers an hour on the 55-kilometer route. Neville Hewlett and defending champion Jacques Coetzee also make it to goal, with competition leader Johan Kritzinger making a crucial mistake. He's one of the pilots who gets flushed from the mountains, scoring only half the task distance, allowing Andrew Smith to move into first place. Competing in the sports class and flying in only his first national championship is Craig Richards. Craig surprised everyone by winning the first day and currently is 4th overall. Ranked number 3 in the South African rankings, and that includes the men, Andrea Joubert is the only lady to make goal. She has impressed everyone with her gutsy, mature flying, and not surprisingly is leading the ladies division convincingly.
Na die pas toe was redelik maklik, maar in die wind toe terug was verskriklik stresvol geweest.
Paul Pallett from Natal is one of 15 pilots who eventually makes goal and describes the challenging flying conditions en route.
That was just a spectacular day with a nice crossing and a very hard into wind leg. That was a great day.
The low cloud does little to dampen the spirits of 130 pilots who are about to make paragliding history. The 6th consecutive task is about to start, the most ever flown in any paragliding competition in South Africa. The task committee decides on a task for the day, but not without some debating before consensus is reached. Pilots have to fly 55 kilometers to a small rugby field at the end of the Citrusdal Valley. The low cloud is lifted and it looks like the task committee has selected another great challenge as the first pilots launch themselves into what looks to be a superb flying day. Second in the tandem class, New Zealand tandem pilot Mark Bailey is doing battle with South African Ian Willis. The foreign terrain does not seem to be too much of a handicap, as Mark finds the strong conditions in favour of his flying style. The tandem class is proving more popular each year, with 6 entries in this year's competition. Anthony Allen does some feet dragging whilst launching his Freaks Proto, and Andrea Joubert stumbles on her launching attempt whilst hard-working competition meet director Greg Hamilton provides a steady hand before pushing her off into the day's task. With a comfortable lead over UK League pilot Jill Hartley, Andrea climbs up over the mountains as she pushes her APCO Bagheera to make the most of existing conditions. For the leaders, it is another epic day of flying. In a great tactical move, third-place pilot Neville Hewlett pilots his Jin Boomerang back along the course line, searching the mountainside for some lift. For most pilots, missing a thermal and landing out is all part of the competition. Not flying to goal means only distance points are scored, and the only thing left is to seek out some shade to escape the heat, perhaps have a snooze and await the arrival of the Harmony retrieve truck. Andrew Smith makes it to goal with a consistent time that keeps him ahead of defending champion Jacques Coetzee and rival Neville Hewlett.
I need to feel a bit more urgency, because when you're leading the competition, you tend not to push as hard as you need, as you should perhaps.
35 pilots land at goal, making the small rugby field worse than Johannesburg International. Surprise of the day goes to UK League pilot Jill Hartley. Lying in second position, she closes in on Andrea Joubert, who fails to make an appearance at goal.
I can't believe she's not in. She's a superb pilot. So, you'll have to excuse me. My ears are...
So what do you think of conditions?
Oh, fantastic. Superb. Really, really good.
Sharing the flight with a mate seems to increase the camaraderie as Peter Prukel finally makes it to goal for the first time in the competition.
Hey! We had a great flight. Yesterday managed to sneak into the lead in the tandem class, and all going well today, we'll hang on to that lead and increase the margin slightly. If not, at least it's going to make it exciting for tomorrow, the last race.
And what a final day it turns out to be for the Harmony Open South African Championships 2000. With so many classes contested and pilots doing a veritable seesaw ride up the daily rankings, no position will be sewn up before the final glider lands at the end of the day. The puffy cumulus clouds marking the sky indicate the best day of the competition, but a relatively short task is selected with no turn points en route. Pilots have to navigate across the Swartland Plains to the end of the Piketberg mountain range, 43 kilometers distant. To start the journey across the valley, pilots try to gain as much height as possible. We take a ride with Springbok pilot Hans Fokkens, skillfully manipulating the brake toggles to keep the glider inside the rising column of air. It does not take long to climb to cloud base at 5,000 feet above the valley floor. The views are fantastic, but tactically, being this high is a tremendous advantage. Circling in some rising air is Cape Townian Anthony Allen, who had a disastrous start to the competition by finishing in 57th place on the first day, but showing exceptional competition temperament, fighting his way back to the top, eventually securing 6th place overall. At goal, competition organisers moved the original goal line by 200 metres because of dangerous obstacles in the landing field. At the new landing field, a sudden windstorm comes roaring through and threatens to blow the goal marker away. In the ensuing turbulence, tandem pilot Mark Bailey and Neville Hewlett are right overhead, suffering canopy deflations and even start going backwards in the strong wind. Anton Nordia has a narrow escape as his glider recovers in the nick of time after also suffering a collapse from the turbulence. Andrea Joubert just manages to hang on to first place for the ladies division after a strong challenge from Jill Hartley, securing the title for South African National Ladies Champion. Mark Bailey is the only foreign pilot that makes it to the podium with a win in the tandem class. In a nail-biting and controversial finish, competition leader Andrew Smith judges the final glide too fine and lands short of goal by half a kilometre. His protest of moving the goal line is upheld and Andrew scores only distance points, dropping to third overall. Having not won a single task but performing consistently throughout is Neville Hewlett from Eastern Province. Victorious by only 62 points, Neville becomes the first South African national champion of the new millennium.
And if you go up, you win.
Spoken like a champion, but the real winner is the sport of paragliding in South Africa. With 7 out of 7 tasks, the Harmony Gold South African Open Paragliding Championships 2000 broke all previous records as the highest validation competition in the country ever. Overseas contestants all agreed that the organisation was exceptional and the standard of flying absolutely world-class. So perhaps it is time that a leg of the Paragliding World Cup should be presented here in South Africa.